explains this beginning of the Masechet. Besides that, it's called Berachot, begins with the mitzvah of Kriyat Shema, which is also the same idea that twice a day we have a mitzvah to say Kriyat Shema, which is to pronounce the oneness of Hashem. And that also is the same idea. We accept upon ourselves the kingdom of Hashem and the oneness of Hashem, and that Hashem runs our lives, and that the role of Hashem in our life, and the obligation that we have to Hashem in everything we do. With that is the beginning of the whole oral Torah. And with that, we can begin and hopefully go very far in the study of the Torah and Torah She'Ba'al Peh, which, Be'ezrat Hashem, that will give us an understanding of what the Torah She'Bichsav, the written Torah, is really coming to try and tell us. What really Hashem meant in when we read the written Torah that everybody knows, everyone's seen. How do we really know when it comes down to what do I do when I wake up in the morning to when I go to sleep at night? How does this book that we see, that we speak about, that Moshe received from Hashem, what does that mean for me in every day, in every second even? So, Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope that together we'll be able to start this process and hopefully gain a lot from it, and certainly there is much, much to gain. And like I said, I wish I would be able to be with everybody here to hear this. I wish I could be together with everyone in person, but Baruch Hashem, we have, nowadays Hashem gave us other ways for the Torah to be spread throughout the world. So we have to make the best with what we have, and Be'ezrat Hashem, it should be the beginning of a beautiful learning for everybody, for all of us, and hopefully we'll merit to understand Hashem's Torah and come close to Hashem's Torah, and through that understand what Hashem wants from us, and enhance our lives and the lives of everyone around us. Shalom Aleichem. So we're going to start now, Be'ezrat Hashem, the first Mishnah in Masechet Brachos, which is the first Masechet in the Torah She'Ba'al Peh, and we're just going to start from the first page, and Be'ezrat Hashem we'll go from there. Hopefully we'll keep going. So the first page actually is not the first page, it's really call it page number 2. For some reason, they decided, the tradition became to start from page number 2. So we're at page called Base, Amud Base. So the Mishnah starts, Me'ei Masai Kori Nishma Ba'arvin. From what time do we say Shema at night? So the Tana, the rabbis who lived in the time of the Mishnah are called Tanaim, and the Mishnah was spoken and written down by Tanaim. So the Tana of the Mishnah, he asks, from what time do you read Shema at night? That is the opening question of Masechet Brachos, of the Torah She'Ba'al Peh. What time, from when? So the Mishnah goes on to answer, Misha she'akohanim nichnasim lachol b'trumasan ad sof ha'ashmur harishona. From the time that the Kohanim go in, literally enter to eat their truma. The truma was every person had an obligation to donate a certain percentage of their livelihood and of their possessions that they earned to the Kohanim, to the priests, and to the Leviim, the Levites, and there was a certain holiness that was given to that donation that they gave. That the Kohanim would eat this food that was given as a donation, a certain percentage of what each person had, and that food that had a special holiness, a special kedusha that had certain halachas that were connected to that. And one of those halachas is that the Kohen could not eat that food in a state of ritual impurity. That in order to eat it, they'd have to become pure. So the purification process was that first they would have to go to have a ritual immersion. And it depended on what kind of impurity it was, whether they had to be a certain amount of time, pass, whatever. But they have to, when it came time to become purified, they'd have to have a ritual immersion, and then wait for the sun to set. And then at the nighttime, when the sun would set, they would become pure, and they'd be able to eat this special portion of food that had a special holiness to it, and they would be considered pure, and in that purity they'd be able to eat this food. So that's what the Mishnah here is talking about. At the time when the Kohanim were able to go in and eat this truma, this special donation, that was the beginning of the time. It's a little bit of a strange choice of word. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense why the Mishnah chose this, but as the way of describing this point. But hopefully we'll get to understanding that. But that's how the Mishnah describes it. From this moment, from when the Kohanim, the priests, are in a state of purity to be able, when that moment of purity would come to them, that they would be able to eat from the truma. That was the beginning. Ad sof ha'ashmua harishona, until the end of the first watch. That's literally what it means. But there was three. The night is divided into 3 parts. There's a certain division of the night, the 12 hours of the night, divided into 3 parts. And the first part each part was called a watch. Well, later in the Guemara it'll also discuss that a little bit, but until the end of the first watch. So that is, at the end, since it was divided into 3 parts, so 12 hours, the night is 12 hours long. We're not necessarily 12 hours as we think of it. 12 hours meaning there's the way that we look at the Chazal, one of the ways of looking at time was not hours with 60 seconds, 60 minutes, the way we think about it, but from whenever the sun set, or whenever the night started, until the day started, whenever the sun would rise, so that, however many hours in our hours it was, so we divide that into 12, that would be the hours of the night. It's 12 hours, so it's a little confusing because we call it hours, but really it's a different kind of hour. It's an hours of taking that time period that's called night, however many the period of night, and dividing it into 12. That's 12 hours. Similarly, in the daytime, there's a certain kind of hours, however many hours of daylight there is, divided into 12, that would also be called 12 hours. So it's confusing, it's a different kind of hours, but for our purpose, we'll call it hours, but just so we understand exactly what the Mishnah is talking about, it's that it's 1/3 of those 12 hours, nighttime hours, that is 4 hours. So it's 4 hours of the night, which really is 1/3 of the night. And so it would change whether it's the winter, it'd be a longer time, in the summer it'd be a longer time, in the summer it'd be a shorter time, because there's different length of the night in the different times of the year. So 1/3 of the night, that's the bottom line. If hopefully it didn't confuse you too much with all of that. It's a tricky concept for a modern day way of thinking about time. So, but the bottom line, it's 1/3 of the night. So the night was into 1/3 until the end of the first third of the night. That is the Pir D'Sei Shema. So it's interesting. The Mishnah now, that is Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. That is the words. Those are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. So now the Mishnah, even though the question of the Mishnah was when does Kriyas Shema start, the Mishnah now goes on to describe a disagreement about until when you have the ability to say Shema. So the question to the Mishnah was answered, and now we're moving on into a slightly different discussion. Chachamim omrim ad chatzos. So Chachamim said until half of the night. So however long the night is, until half of that time you have half the night. So Rabbi Eliezer said you have 1/3 of the night, and the Chachamim now extended the period how long you have until to say Shema. The nighttime Shema you have until half of the night. Rabban Gam